Hey guys, welcome back to our water cooler on our little corner of the internet. It's the Movie Minute. I'm Mike Sorg here in the studios here in Pittsburgh, PA, and Mayhem Studios. With me, as always, across town is Mulango at Rambling Mango. It's Rambling Mango, right? I had to put your thing in. I forget if you had a "the" in the name.
No, for Twitter, it's just Rambling Mango.
Yes. That's
all Twitter would allow me.
It's okay. I think we have Wrestling Mayhem Show, like, with an O. No W. And it's always like, why didn't you fix that? I'm like, because Twitter won't let me. What do you want me to do? So
yeah, Twitter doesn't like long stuff.
So so what's going on in the movies? I've seen some movies, but I want to know what you've seen, what's happening out there. How did the movies do this weekend?
Yeah, let's run down the lineup of what movies did. Looks like Ender Game was the big one this week. Mm-hmm. That's the one that stole the show, which was I saw that one before early release. I was pleasantly surprised.
Good.
Actually, I don't think it was a matter of being pleasantly surprised. I was pretty excited about this one. So, not reading the books, of course. I went to see it with somebody who did read the books, which was a very interesting post-talk. Basically, if you read the books, you might be disappointed. So don't read the books before you see this movie.
But isn't that always the way? I mean, it just doesn't happen. I listened to a thing about Daredevil and how they screwed up the movie so bad. And they're like, well, they're trying to take so much from the books and they just don't allow it to happen. I think that nobody except for Marvel and who is it? Peter Jackson knows how to adapt a book to the screen these days.
Yeah, I mean, that's very possible. But either way, I would say I don't know what I would say for this one because I heard somebody's post talk about it. I don't know. I would say if you're into sci-fi and you want to pay full price, go check this out.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a fun big movie, right? Is this the kind of movie that I want to go with the sound system and the big screen?
Yes, I saw it on IMAX, and it is freaking phenomenal.
I gotta be honest. Other than the Carnegie Science Center, I have not seen an IMAX film. And that's an OmniMax, which is even a little weirder.
Yeah, I think I saw Batman, the first one, at the Science Center, and I was pretty overwhelmed by the roundness. I think IMAX and OmniMax are very two different experiences.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like the quick rundown, I mean, Ender's Game only pulled in $27 million, so by all the states, people might say that's not great for a high-budget 3D movie like that. But compared to Jackass with $20 million, I don't know. I think that's a good turnout. So, yeah, go see it. Jackass did come in at a whopping number 2, like I said, with $20 million. I got about halfway through Jackass, and I laughed at parts that I did not think I would laugh at. I will say that the setups to some of these scenes are ridiculously long and very unscripted. So it's one of those things you just got to sit through.
And you got to say, that's how many weeks in the top 3 for Jackass, and something that had been a very, 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 very low budget kind of film, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you could tell, like, even some of the setups were, like, so weird, where, like, Johnny Knoxville's character would go to, like, a strip club, and then they play that whole scene out, and then they cut to the kid who was left at, like, the hotel room, and he just goes out in public, interacts, and that's another scene. So just imagine, like, the show with different scenes, and then just, how are we going to transition from point A to point B?
And sometimes they don't bother, right?
Yeah, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they would just go straight cut, and then you're like, wait, that was never resolved. Which led itself to humor because like, after all the stuff went down, there's probably that uncomfortable, like, Johnny Knoxville saying, hey, look, sorry, this is for a movie. we need you to sign some paperwork. It's all good. We'll pay for whatever we did here. Yeah. But I don't know. I find that humorous because I did have a friend during college who reminds me of Johnny Knoxville, and I could just imagine being friends with this guy would be so stressful. Being friends with anybody in that crew would be extremely stressful. But yeah, number 3 and number 4, I just kind of did like I just clump them together because you got Las Vegas, which I still think is targeted to the older folks, and then you have the kids movie Freebirds. So they were separated by pennies. I say pennies like
millions and millions of pennies, right?
So, I mean, yeah, that's definitely what it is. It's interesting to see Gravity still kind of close there, but, you know, they're slowly dropping. So if you have not seen Gravity yet, or in 3D, which I'm told I have to go see in 3D, it might not be there for much longer.
I gotta tell you what, I feel like they timed this up perfectly because I just picked up Call of Duty Ghost, and the like second sequence you get into is like, oh my god, I'm in Gravity, but it's even worse.
So yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen Gravity, go check it out. If you're able to see it in 3D on IMAX, I hear that is well worth the money spent. But yeah, that's the roundup. So, Mike, how about we change this up? What movies have you seen?
I saw some movies in the way that I do. I try to check in on HBO and HBO Go and see what you know. I like when I see stuff. It's like, oh, hey, I remember that from the theater, or somebody's told me about it. Pitch Perfect, I got to see finally. Really enjoyed that. Yeah, finally, right? I've heard so. I think didn't you say some good stuff about it? Chachi's purchased it on like Xbox or something to watch. It was pretty cool. I mean, it really is. It plays like a Glee episode. Little more raunchy. It is really Glee in high school in the long run, I think.
It's like it's more like Glee in college.
Mm-hmm. We were getting a kick out of the announcers, Elizabeth Banks, and I'm not sure who the other guy is there, but like you were just like sitting there, like they just let these two go. You can tell like all this stuff was just like insane ad lib.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The minstrel cycles that was pretty good. But other than that, just one of those. Yeah, it was a really good flick. The other thing I saw, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around, is Cloud Atlas. I think I know what happened there. I really didn't expect to get a resolution at the end of this thing. Remember,
is it like getting your cherry pop, but not really sure if that's what happened?
That's an interesting way to put that. We're like, yet probably a really good metaphor if you paid money for this movie. Like I'm like, oh, it's a Wachowski, so like, okay, they're going to do something interesting here. Like I loved when they mess with my mind on The Matrix, so, you know, the first time around. And I'm like, okay, they're going to do something cool with this, right? And it was just like, well, that happened. I feel like I watched 5 movies at the same time. I'm not entirely sure which one is Tom Hanks and which one's Halle Berry in some of the other scenarios. But it really does. Like I was saying, I think it's one of those things that I don't think it came off well. It almost needs more explanation. You play when movies like tell you the entire plot. No, you need to tell me the entire plot because watching it didn't help too much. You know, I mean, for each thing, and I liked how like certain time frames kind of linked together, but it didn't seem like everything overarchingly linked together. Other than this kind of aloof sense that these are the same souls, you know, which you kind of had going into it. So it's like, okay, all right. I don't know. It was an interesting movie. I can't really recommend it though.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I got about halfway through and I lost interest. I got distracted by something else. And I think that I saw it on Netflix, either in DVD, so it was one of those that I just returned it. I was like, yeah, I can't finish this.
You just throw your hands up and throw it in a mailbox, right?
Yeah, it's like I've had it for too long. Once my Netflix DVDs become coasters, that's when I know it's time.
When I've set a drink on my DVD, I need to send it back.
It's time to send this back. So besides Ender Game, which I saw for free, I didn't really pay any money to go see anything in theaters.
That's probably the best one. Because we're all good.
And half of Jackass that I was able to see. But you want to move to movie news?
Let's move to movie what's news. Going on in the news, sir?
So there are a couple things that were going on. The first one was the Max Landis, the guy who wrote Chronicles, the screenwriter.
Okay.
He hasn't been signed on for the second movie. And it's kind of interesting because he had a whole origin story behind the source of like where these powers actually come from. Apparently, in the first movie, I didn't actually register this, but it's probably been some time. That's probably why. But in the first movie, the three characters, we see that they get their powers when they submerge underground with this alien ship and this alien world that surrounds them. But we don't really know where that alien world, where that comes from, or anything else. And then it just kind of ends. They kind of come out and hey, now we're evolving.
And I recall this movie being more of a Cloverfield found footage kind of situation. So, I mean, those kinds of movies kind of lend themselves to not really explaining everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, that's usually how they are. But I think it's odd that they would take off the screenwriter because, I mean, it's always good to see what somebody else's maybe adaptation to a story like this could be. I mean, I think it was a great concept. But it's just weird that, the screenwriter had so much stuff that, like, in this article, it states that, he had it lined up for a trilogy, which if you think about the world of heroes and all of the comic book movies that we have now, I mean, this could have been a really nice trilogy with an original story, which sadly we might.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the first step in a larger world, And I think we've had a lot of this. I mean, there's a few of them, like Jumper was kind of an interesting one. We had the I Am Number 4. Do you remember that? It was actually based on a series of books, and I'd like to see them, well, obviously they'd probably just follow along the books, but I'd like to see more of that world and see, okay, he's 4. There's, where does that go from there? Because it was obviously just a starting point. So
yeah. Which is odd because it definitely lends itself to an article that I read about we are able to get the movies that we have. Like Gravity was able to be made because of the success of something like Avatar, which because of the success of something else, we were able to get, the evolution of movies. So it definitely, it begs the question, maybe this was a movie that, was created by the studios so that we might get Avengers or something else down the line. But
I don't know. I would lean more towards the Batmans and the X-Men's over the years are what gave us Avengers. Success as, hey, let's give this a try. And also gave Marvel Studios enough bank to have say-so to say this is what we're going to do and talk studios into it.
Yeah, I guess I would say, if anything, we probably got the first Chronicles because of the X-Men movies, the originals, and now we probably have more in-depth, I would say, Avengers movies, but I don't know. It just seems like it was an original idea, so I don't know. It'll be sad that I can't say it's sad that it's gone because we really don't know who the next screenwriter. Like, we don't know who is next in line to pick this up. J.J. Abrams, for all. I have a man crush on J.J. Abrams, so he can do no wrong. But until we see Star Wars, but I don't know. Well, it's up in the air. But I thought that was interesting. Moving on. So an interesting. You realize in 2014, this will be the first time in maybe something like 10 years, maybe longer, that we will be going without a Pixar movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it brought up the question of this year, there are 19 animated feature movies or films that are up for the Oscar race. Now, I'm looking through them, and it was kind of funny. Some of them I haven't even, obviously, some of them I have not seen. Mm-hmm. But when you start to see movies like Planes and Freebirds competing next to stuff like Turbo, which was an original, we got Frozen, which we're yet to see. It begs a different, I don't know if the Oscars, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. It almost feels like, well, these were the movies that we had. We had a bunch of sequels. We didn't really have a lot of original stuff. We had the Smurfs 2, Despicable Me 2, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. If on first glance, if I look at this, I'm going with the Croods, and I'm calling it a. Monsters University was interesting, but that was also technically a prequel, so a second movie. I don't know. This is interesting.
So it just feels like they're throwing everything. I mean, there can't be a lack of animated movies, right? I mean, there's plenty, but again, like one, I'm kind of surprised, like that this is how many that they submit, and I don't know much about the Oscars, but isn't it interesting? And all these are 3D animated, right?
Yeah, these
like
are all
there's no 2D
animated.
anymore. So we're to that point where they're just pumping out a lot of stuff, and unfortunately, I think what you get is, you know, in the case of Planes, you know, and some of these other ones, now everybody's doing an animated movie, and now 3D animated movie, and just because it used to be when the days of Pixar, it took a really good movie to make it to the screen because they had to go through so much. And again, we talked about kind of movies begetting other kinds of movies. Toy Story begot all of this. Really.
Yeah. And it's just kind of sad because in the year, I mean, like, Monsters University, although it was a prequel, was nicely done. A lot of people did not think it was up to the Pixar quality, but I mean, it had the jokes, it had the quality there, it had the story. It might not have been as compelling as something like Finding Nemo, but you know, you'd already had these characters, so you were almost, where did these characters come from? Where did they evolve from? So when I look at a list, like Turbo was nice to watch, but it wasn't really a groundbreaking like movie. And I don't know. I haven't seen Freebirds. I haven't seen Frozen. Hasn't been released yet. But once I see movies like like Planes on this list and sequels like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and Despicable Me, it almost seems like exactly what you said. Companies are able to produce these movies with more speed, pump them out, and now we have a pool where it might not necessarily be quality. Like I really don't know. I mean, if the winner truly is based on all of the qualifications that I guess need to be submitted to win an Oscar, that'll be great. But I don't know. I guess Frozen will be an interesting one to see. But as for right now, the Croods were. That's the one I'm going with.
Are we also at a point where we're kind of plateauing with animated flicks like this, where it, you know, again, like you say, you know, none of these were really groundbreaking. It's like, well, what more needs to happen for it to be a groundbreaking, you know, animation film, you know? So I think the playing field's gotten leveled up. There's everybody's doing it, and all the good ideas, maybe, you know, for the time being, are going to be done for a while. You know, we're at that point where, why is there another action movie? Why is there another thing based on a book like we do with, you know, the general movies? Maybe that's the point we're at with this. You know, one thing I do like to see is, out of all these animated films, I don't know about books, but there's not a lot of them based on prior properties. Like, there's a couple, and most of them are from, well, we got Disney, Despicable Me 2, Cloudy. So I see like 4 just ringing through this real quick. So there's a lot of original stuff developing there, and I think that's really good to see.
Yeah, I think that's definitely good to see. I think it'll just be a question of original. Like I said, like the Croods, was phenomenal. The other thing could also be that movie came out so early in the year that now at the end, when we're talking about Oscars, a lot of that stuff is probably forgotten. So
that's true.
Anyway, all right. The last story that I was going to talk about was the Sony Pictures announcing Amazing Spider-Man fans program. I thought this was pretty interesting because a lot of people have been disappointed with Spider-Man 2, or with the new remake of Spider-Man.
Okay.
So it seems like Sony is putting out a loyalty and sweepstakes program for the fans tied to the summer release. And I think it's just like a last-ditch effort to say, we know we've messed up. Please come see this movie.
Okay, so what kind of loyalty program? Hold on, I'm pulling up the site here. So is this like no, it's not really a social. Step 1, join by choosing your social network. Step 2, check your email for official content. Step 3, share it. No, this is just a marketing thing.
You will earn points. You can earn badges for milestones reached.
For talking about the movie. So this is their way to I think they all do this from time to time. So they're really they're going to send you these emails, and then they're going to and then they know what social network you're on, and they say, hey, share this trailer, or share this blah blah blah, or share this picture of Emma Stone. It's just another way for them to get people to advertise for them without paying them.
Yeah, I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way.
I think it's
that's all I have to say.
I think it's a really bad, ham-fisted attempt at taking advantage of social media.
Sony, the company that continues to amaze. Well, with that, Mike, let's round this out. Let's come around the home stretch.
All right.
So movies coming out this weekend that people should definitely be interested in. Thor. I repeat, Thor.
Thor.
And Thor.
And Thor.
And Thor.
And maybe some more Thor.
This one has had some early previews. It's coming in at a whopping 76. With early releases, holding at a 76 is pretty good. It's not great, but I think I am still excited to see this. I was excited to see this last week. So.
Additionally, even more excited, I learned that I believe it's the November 17th, whatever that week is, edition of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will actually be a direct spin-off of Thor 2, as in it will be them dealing with the fallout of what happens in this movie.
Nice.
So it's like, so get your butt up into a theater the first 2 weeks to give them record numbers, because you're going to want to watch that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode and know what's going on. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool, and that's a very comic book way to do it too. Hey, this major event happened, and we're going to have the fallout over here in I don't know, Heroes for Hire or something for the big Avengers book.
Yep.
Well, you were really enjoying that Heroes for Hire, but maybe you want to go buy Avengers 2, right? Because to know exactly what the heck they're talking about. That's what they're doing, right? It is a very Marvel-esque way to go about it, and very complete, and I love it. We talked about last week, I'm a continuity nut, and this is tremendous, and I love how they're building this out. And I mentioned to you before they're doing Marvel Week over on the Nerdist podcast. Great interview with the guy that plays Agent Coulson on there, and talking about them, bringing them up and this other stuff. So, and I don't know who else they're bringing up this week on that, but it should be a pretty good listen. So, and have you heard this like talk of maybe having a Sif movie?
No.
Who's the girl in Thor?
Oh no, I didn't know that. That'd be weird.
I don't know. I think it was just an idea being floated around. I think she's also interested in playing Wonder Woman. I think she'd make a good Wonder Woman, to be honest.
Oh, gosh. So we're going to recast people?
Sure. Why not, right?
Oh, there we go.
Hey, Ben Affleck did the crossover. He went from Daredevil to Batman. It doesn't matter.
This is true.
Chris Evans went from the Human Torch to Captain America. Nobody cares. Nobody minds. Nope.
I've heard mixed things about The Book Thief, but besides that, I mean, this seems like if you're in a movie league, man, Thor is the week to just suck up. Like, you're just going to kill a lot of stuff with that. That's basically the only movie that seems to really be opening up this weekend that's worth.
What is The Book Thief, though?
I believe it's based off of a book, which is interesting.
But based on a beloved international best-selling book, The Book Thief tells the story. Man, another thing I watched. We rewatched Ghost Protocol, Mission Impossible, And I didn't realize at the time when probably the first 2 watchings of this. I love that movie. The bad guy is the guy that played the main dude from How I Met Your Brother. Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. Completely the same thing. So I thought that was pretty cool. Right there.
Yeah, I mean this is. I've read more of the description. It's a World War II Germany movie.
Because we need
type
another
thing.
happy World War II movie, right? So great.
Even Best Man Down, which has what's his name, Justin Long, and Jess. I'm gonna mess up her name, Wexler. I mean, that's a movie that looks like it's a good concept, and it just got thrashed. And again, of course, you can't go too much on what Rotten Tomato ratings are, but the critics hated this movie. Apparently,
this looks like an interestingly like Kevin Smith cast-off movie.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a whole list of indie movies.
Huh. But it's one of those Magnolia things. I mean, can you think of a blockbuster from Magnolia Pictures? Let's be honest.
Yeah, this is true.
I mean, this is the kind of film they do.
Very good point.
I mean, but there has to be. I mean, I challenge you to check this out. Every week in the theaters, if you look at like the top 10 movies, there has to be a chick flick. There has to be something for the teens to go to. There has to be something to take your kids to go to. So anybody that says, I want to go to a movie this weekend, there has to be something for them, right? And I think this is just one of those things that fills the void.
No. It is what it is. All right, Mike. I'm going to go see what's on Netflix.
Okay. Is that our new tagline to end the show now? I want to go find out what's on Netflix. Okay. Later.
Actually, I have to get caught up. I'm behind on so many freaking television shows. So that might be my next project.
Excellent. Awesome. So where can people get at you to get your opinion on the movies or let you know their opinion on the movies?
Yeah, hit me up on Twitter at Rambling Mango. I like to post movie trailers and random news that I find interesting throughout the week. And if you have a question or something, you could hit me up. Also, anybody watching the show, I might have free passes to Delivery Man tomorrow.
Which would be Wednesday
in Trenton.
Which is
so if you're in the Pittsburgh area and you want to make that drive, hit me up on Twitter. First person to hit me up, I'm sending them out.
There you go. Hit them up. Get those. I'm at Sorgatron, and of course, sorgatronmedia.com. You can check us out here. We do this live every Tuesday around about 5:30 p.m. or so at live.sorgatronmedia.com. And we'll see you guys next week.
Cool. See you.
On Netflix.